Why not protest in China or protest outside the Chinese embassy about fossil fuels? Their coal production is going up. If you want to go and protest about fossil fuels, protest against the Chinese.
And I wonder when we'll see them protest outside the Chinese embassy, because China is still building coal-fired power stations, but nobody seems to mind about that in the environmental movement.
What percent of global emissions the UK is responsible for? You must do. You're paid 100k a year, so you must know.
I mean, it's around 1%, 2%.
All right, okay. So why aren't you going to China, to Xi Jinping's palace and doing this?
So babyish. Grow up. Grow up. This whole thing of, oh, well, we're only one country, 1% of the global population. This is called the collective action problem. Why should I do something if everybody else isn't going to do it? Okay? And I won't make any difference. Well, this is like saying, why should you vote? You're one of 45 million people that can vote in a general election. Why would you vote? What's the rational reason to vote? Why would you do it? One vote's not going to make any difference. No constituency is going to be decided by a single vote. Maybe there's a record of it somewhere, but it's not a single vote, I don't think. You know, maybe the tens of votes, but not a single vote, so why bother? There is no, given that logic, rational explanation or reason or motive to vote. But people do all the time. Tens of millions of people vote every year, practically. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Well, it's because people feel there's an obligation to do the right thing. And it's the same with regards to climate change. We should pull our weight. Now, we then move on to an argument of, is China pulling its weight? Well, right now, China has generation coming from solar in regards to coal of a ratio about 2-1. Now, that might not sound like much, but China's solar capacity is increasing by around 33% every year. It is a global leader in solar, wind, nuclear, everything. It's blowing everyone out of the water, everyone. It's blowing often in terms of yearly additional capacity. It's often blowing out the EU and the US combined, okay, in creating new capacity for wind and solar. Particularly wind. So it's pretty obvious China is actually doing pretty well. There was a report out last month how actually with regards to renewables, it was 5 years ahead of schedule. Now, I'm not here to kiss the butt of Xi Jinping or China. That's irrelevant. The facts are the facts. When it comes to nuclear, renewable and decarbonizing, they're doing remarkably well. And the idea that, why don't you go protest in Xi Jinping's house? First of all, China's not a democracy, you nimwit. Okay, so generally speaking, protest only works in countries where politicians feel they have to be answerable to the electorate. That's a good thing. You can't, on the one hand, say that China is this authoritarian, dictatorial state. Nobody has the right to protest, and then say, hey, why don't you go protest in China? It doesn't make any sense. Please try and get more than 10 of those brain cells buzzing at any one point.